Hiya folks, how's it going? I'm Lexi and I really like tabletop games. So much so that I review one here once a week, every week. If that sounds interesting to you, I encourage you to subscribe and keep watching. Today we are looking at a game that was sent to me. I always really love it when someone reaches out to show me what they've been working on. I also then feel very honored when people trust me to review their games. If you have a game you would like me to review, I have popped my details in the description box below. I do have a bit of a backlog of all the fantastic games I need to review, but I'm always looking forward to hearing about what you're working on. Without much further ado, let's dive into today's game. Remember Frankie. Remember Frankie isn't a game that's necessarily set in a fantastical or unusual world. It's about our own memories. In this game, you retell stories from your life. This doesn't mean you can't introduce interesting or fantastical details. In fact, this game comes with several tweaks where you can set the stories that you're about to tell in some unusual situations. They range all the way from a wedding, a funeral, to Earth on trial by some superior being. Perhaps you're in space, or you're at a very awkward human resources meeting at work. The one thing that brings all of these stories and settings together is the titular character of Frankie. You might be wondering who this is. Well, Frankie is everyone and no one at once. Frankie is in the conceit of the game and is going to become a friend of all of the players. Never mind that he doesn't exist in real life. So you might be wondering, how does one play this game with this imaginary Frankie character? The rules for Remember Frankie are for a group of 3 to 4 players, and they are designed to create an interesting storytelling experience. This game begins with an introduction. This is where someone will come up with a setting that all of these stories are going to be framed in. All of these stories that are then told should roughly fit and just not contradict this setting. Then a player performs a verse. This is where, for me, the game really got my attention. When performing a verse, you are to select a story from your own life and tell it, adding the character Frankie in. Perhaps Frankie replaces a friend in the story, or Frankie could even replace you to give you some distance from your own life. The most important thing is this has to be a true story from your own life. Though you might want to, and you are perfectly allowed to, exaggerate or make some details more interesting. Then another player will perform a cadence. This is inspired by the story that was just told, and they come up with a toast, highlighting one of Frankie's qualities in this story. Then the player who has yet to speak comes up with a lyric. As they've been listening, they have been coming up with a short, poetic phrase about this story. The game then proceeds with the verse, cadence, and lyric again. Each player in the game should hopefully get a chance to perform a verse. Once everyone has had a chance to perform a verse, you move on to the coda. In the coda, the players actually arrange the timeline of when each story happened in Frankie's life. Then everyone has a look at the character Frankie. What did we learn about them in these stories? Have they grown or changed or regressed in any way? Remember Frankie is asking players to rethink a personal story of theirs. The twist of replacing someone in the story with Frankie gives everyone a shared character to buy in on together. And it is only by the end of the game that Frankie's true character is created. This collective building process feels really organic. Rather than discussing Frankie's traits and personalities from the start, all of this is built throughout the game and you only can see it at the end. If you are interested in storytelling games, then I highly recommend checking out Remember Frankie. I really like the way that it is asking us to think about our own memories and the cultural practice of storytelling together. There are no dice or tokens or Jenga towers for this game. The structure and the stories themselves are the mechanics. If you are looking for a crunchy game with heavy lore, then I am not sure why you are still watching this video, but I think it's clear to see that is not what this game is about. Really, this game is about discussing the form of storytelling. It's collective storytelling and sharing. I also want to mention briefly how striking the art is. Having a color palette that binds the whole work together really helps create this cohesive experience. Also, the humanoid figures are really interesting. This little zine is only $12 US from Aylwood Games, and I think it'd be a great one for a lot of people to pick up. If the shipping is too much, there is a PDF version as well, which is only $5. This was such a cool little game which got me thinking about what storytelling is and how we do it in our own lives. While we all can't exactly sit down and play a game of Remember Frankie properly together, I was wondering if we could at least try telling some stories about Frankie together. So I'd like all of you, if you feel up to it, to tell me a story from your life and replace someone in it with Frankie. I'll go first and I'll put my story as a pinned comment. I'm not sure if this is gonna work, but I thought it would be an interesting thing to try. If you just want to talk about the video I've made or the game itself in the comments, feel free to go ahead and do that instead. While you're down in the comments, I encourage you to like, subscribe, perhaps maybe share with a friend, and turn on notifications. It all helps this channel get more notice. I also have a Ko-fi page where you can donate to this channel, which just helps with the general upkeep. Or you can remind me to post there more often. I hope you're all well, and I'll see you next time at the gaming table. Bye!